In 2025, I've spent the majority of my time getting better at woodworking with the goal of being a much better scratch builder of acoustic instruments. For the most part, I've been focusing on flat top acoustics, but recently I've really gotten into the idea of building an archtop guitar. And I had a mold that was for the Gibson L-7 size archtop. But as I've been building, it's occurred to me that I've never actually seen a Gibson L7 or an L5, and so I sought out the cheapest version I could find, which happened to be on the Guitar Center website. And so I purchased it sight unseen. And so right now I'm going to go over kind of what I received, see what needs to be fixed, and then after that, assuming I keep it, then maybe we'll make some modifications. So other than opening the box, just to make sure that the neck didn't break, I haven't taken a look at this yet, and so this isn't an unboxing video per se, but I'm going to take a look at this, restring it, and then make sure that it is actually possible that this is a playable instrument. Guitar Center gives you 3 days, if I'm not mistaken, for vintage instruments, and so yeah, I'll take a look at this, put some strings on it, and then give my first impression. It turns out, as a bonus, Guitar Center provided a set of strings, or maybe these were the strings that the prior owner was using. However, they don't appear to be the correct strings. They're only a 10 to 50 set. And for an acoustic archtop like this, I'm going to put 12 to 53 D'Addario strings on. So let's get to it. So I restrung with the proper strings, and it's really no surprise to me that this was not flying off the shelves at Guitar Center. Assuming that they were a 10 gauge set of strings, that's way too light to drive the top here for a decent sound. It's also the case that the top 3 strings were actually strung backwards, which is always a weird thing. If you're used to doing it the right way, you got to turn the pegs the wrong way. But as it sits, this is nowhere near the worst Gibson archtop I've ever seen. For the most part, it looks the part with the checked lacquer. The neck doesn't seem like it's been reset. If anything, the strings are way too low right now, which again makes me wonder, how Guitar Center acquired this guitar and then what happened to it beforehand, because the wrong strings, even with a set of 12 acoustic strings on it, it's still buzzing, so the bridge needs to go up. But overall, it's in pretty good condition. There's a little back separation here, aside from the back. It's not too loose. In fact, it's very hard to push in, so it'll be interesting to see if that needs to be fixed or what it would take to fix that. There is what appears to be a crack on the top here. I don't know if that's been repaired before. It doesn't appear to be moving a whole lot. It's definitely not a lacquer crack, though. It's very much on the seam of the spruce. But in terms of, like I said, in terms of archtops that I've had before, I think this ended up being a steal. This was about $1,200 to $1,500 less than any other price I could find one of these for sale on the internet. And for the most part, it's really just bad business practices on Guitar Center's part. Taking crappy pictures, not representing it too well. Obviously, I don't know the provenance of all of this. It has Kluson Deluxe tuners. I can't say if they're original. This is a 1949 L7, but they certainly look the part. They're a little loose, so that's not ideal. But yeah, I mean, replacement parts or not, I mean, this looks like a good L7 bridge. It doesn't necessarily look pitted enough, but that's okay. And I would almost guarantee that this one isn't the real bridge. But as far as sounds go, doesn't sound great right now. Obviously, I just put the strings on, so they're not stretched out. I haven't measured that the bridge is in the right position, and the strings are too low. But in terms of should I keep this or not, I think I am going to keep it. As far as I can tell, there aren't any major structural issues. It's got a tiger maple neck, if I can get that in the light just right. A little buckle rash on the back, but nothing too outrageous. Also has some tiger flame. I have, like I mentioned, I think I have up to 3 days to kind of look at this, and so if this video gets published, it means I kept the guitar, and then we will kind of take a look at it and see what needs to be done to make this into a real legitimate player. One of the convenient things about archtop guitars is that the tailpiece allows you to take the strings out without having to completely discard them. So I can do all my work here by undoing the strings, push them aside, and then go back and actually restring the tailpiece. After removing the strings, I check the flatness of the fretboard using my notch straight edge. I was really surprised that the neck was perfectly flat here. Right now I'm going to leave it, but I probably want to actually put a little bit of relief in to give the strings a bit more area to vibrate. With the fretboard taped up, I start the tedious process of trying to figure out which frets are too high and are causing the buzzing problems. Through this process, I found that frets 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, 14, 18, and 19 were all high relative to their neighbors. And so I really need to go through and do, an entire fret job as opposed to spot leveling frets. Here I demonstrate that not every tool needs to be a specialist luthier tool. I'm just using a common level with some self-adhesive sandpaper to go back and forth to bring all of the frets back into level. After seemingly forever to get the frets all into the same level, I go back with a radius block just to make sure that I didn't change the radius of the frets relative to the fretboard. After the fret crowning and polishing, you can then put the strings back on and see if we've got a playable guitar neck. All in all, I probably spent about 3 hours leveling the frets and then recrowning them. And it's been about a week since I did all this work, and I'm pleased to report that this is such a fantastic guitar. The sound of this is just so rich and frankly loud. Archtop guitars were really big in the era pre-electrification of guitars, when you really wanted the sound to carry through in the big band setting. And as I say, this guitar sounds phenomenal. All your jazz chords ring out beautifully. Obviously, you can use it as a strummer for your just type chords. The one thing I will say is, leveling the frets definitely got to the lowest point that they can go. Right now, the guitar is absolutely playable. In fact, it has gotten me to practice guitar lately, and so that in itself is its own miracle. but it will need to be refretted in the future. The bridge still has some adjustability left, up and down, but the strings are just about as low as they can be, and still play without buzzing. And you can play all the way up the neck to about the 15th fret. Obviously, if you start doing stuff like this, you could play further, but you can comfortably play to the 15th fret. All the notes ring out clearly. The nut is so low that the strings almost appear to be touching the fretboard. And so, as I said, this may have another year of daily playing in it, and then it would need to be refretted. Also, earlier in the video, I mentioned that I wasn't sure if these were the original parts, the Clouson tuners, the bridge, the tailpiece. Upon doing more research, I think they're all actually original. The Clouson Deluxe is definitely, the type of tuner that we're using back then. In fact, with the heavier strings, some of the looseness problems actually tighten themselves up. The bridge, the reason I didn't think the bridge was original is there's no gap in between here. Every archtop I've seen before, it actually has a little arch cut out of it so that the bridge is only touching in two places. It turns out that this is how Gibson was doing it earlier in the years. This is in 1949, and so they didn't move to the two-point bridge until later. The bridge is also kind of wobbly as they get worn out, the posts and everything, and so I do think that's original. The tailpiece, it is heavy, so I feel like it would be at least period correct, if not the original. I guess the last thing I'll say about this, which I found pretty funny, is one of the things you often see with an archtop is an indentation or discoloration where the bridge used to sit. And right here is where the indentation is on this guitar. However, I needed to move the bridge forward a whole half of an inch to actually be properly intonated. When I did that, the strings got a much softer feel to them. Obviously, the further you push it back this way, the more tense the string is. The break angle and the strings are here. Moving it a little bit more towards the center makes the action a little bit softer. And so, again, I wish I knew the backstory to this, because how the guitar had its bridge in the wrong place long enough to discolor, how it was using 10 strings. Of course, it wasn't playable when I got it, so it wouldn't have been playable on the Guitar Center floor. But yeah, couldn't be happier with this guitar. That said, I am going to list it for sale. As I do all of these videos, I'm not successful enough to be getting huge YouTube ad money. Don't have any sponsors or anything, and so I am going to put this up for sale for basically what I hope is the market price. If it sells, then I'll make money on this guitar. While it doesn't sell, I will continue to enjoy it. If I happen to play it enough to wear out the frets, I'll refret it, and who knows, maybe in a future video I'll actually make a pick guard for this. That's something I haven't done in a while. But yeah, this turned out to be a really excellent gamble. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.